All right, welcome to Yahoo Finance's coverage here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. We're going to focus on some cybersecurity right now. Cloudflare co-founder and CEO Matthew Prince. Good to see you, Matthew. Nice.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's only been a year, right?
We meet every year this same spot.
You're the first cybersecurity executive I have talked to here so far at the forum. What does this new administration mean to your industry specifically?
No, I don't think it changes a lot for our administration. The Trump campaign was a customer, the Biden campaign was a customer. We provide cybersecurity services to basically anyone who's there. And I think one of the things is uniting any administration is they want to make sure that our secrets are safe in the nation. And that is been a priority for the Biden administration, as I think it's a priority for the Trump administration. So I think it's actually one of the areas that I don't see a lot of change.
In his prior term, didn't President Trump sign favorable cybersecurity law into effect?
Yeah, I think that's actually been true going back even to the Obama administration. We've just seen over and over again presidents prioritize that the nation's security is paramount. And a big part of that today is cybersecurity. And we're proud of the fact that in the election in last year, more than half of U.S. states, almost all the battleground states, were actually using Cloudflare technology that we provide for free through the Athenian project to make sure that the election was secure and reliable. And one of the things I'm proud of is the fact that cybersecurity wasn't a part of the story in the 2024 election. And I think it's again, that we are getting in front of the bad guys and we're actually protecting the nation.
If you were to meet with President Trump today, what would you tell him in terms of U.S. infrastructure? What needs to be reinvested in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that across the board, there are a lot of industries where they might not have the technical sophistication or wherewithal to stay in front of that. Hospital systems, we've seen the problems with that as they've been targeted. Education, especially primary school education, doesn't always have those resources. And so that's why with the Biden administration, we work very closely in order to provide those services at no cost to those types of institutions. And I think that's the same thing that I would say to the Trump administration. Lean on private industry, ask for our help, and we are happy to help those organizations, those institutions that are in need.
Are we X number of years behind in terms of cybersecurity?
I think it depends. Different industries are at different places. You see industries that have really focused on this. The tech industry has, I think, actually gotten ahead of a lot of these things. But legacy industries, sometimes as they've pieced together various bits, if they weren't born on the web, if they weren't born on the internet, they're still trying to catch up. And so I think it's a tale of multiple different stages that different companies are at. But over the next little bit, again, we want to make sure that whoever you are, wherever you are, you can be secure online.
I was moderating a panel earlier on today, and we were talking about China and how fast they're moving in terms of AI. What does their speed of AI rollout mean to the U.S. national security?
I think in some ways they're moving quickly around AI. But in other ways, they're actually behind where I would have predicted they would be. They had all the data from what they were hoovering up about their populace. They had all of the investment in the technologies that were there. What I think is actually really interesting about the China story is what's held them back is that there's an incredible fear of what these AI systems, because they are unpredictable, could do. If you imagine if Google releases a chatbot tomorrow and someone goes on, if you go on and trick it into sounding like a Nazi, that's going to be really embarrassing to Google, but nobody disappears, nobody goes to jail. On the other hand, if Baidu releases a chatbot and you go on to trick it to pretend to be a student protester in Tiananmen Square in 1989, someone actually disappears, someone goes to jail for that happening. And so I think the fact that they've actually regulated the outputs in an unpredictable system has actually held China back and will continue to hold China back, and actually gives the United States a huge advantage in this space.
Is TikTok a national security risk?
Boy, that's above my pay grade. I've actually never used TikTok, so I'm not totally sure. But I do think that we need to be focused on, what is it that we're giving information up to, and where is that information going to? Where is it flowing? And so I think it's something where a lot of people who've had a lot of briefings and intelligence that I haven't have said there's a real risk here and there's a real problem here. But again, I think it's above my pay grade.
Last year at Davos, you reminded me things were gloomy-ish a little. Yeah. What are you hopeful for from this administration this year? What could they do over the next 4 quarters? I'm always thinking quarters. What could they do over the next 4 quarters to unleash your earnings and maybe go from 10% earnings growth to 25% earnings growth? Yeah,
I think that first of all, the mood at Davos this year does feel more optimistic, which I think, especially because we're in Europe and there is sort of a sentiment that Europe is nervous about a Trump administration, surprised me a little bit. The last 2 years, I think, felt a little bit more pessimistic than this year does. And that I don't know if that's a positive indicator or a negative indicator, but it's something that's there. I think the Trump administration really focusing on making sure the industries that need protection know that they have resources from the private sector to do that, unleashing the private sector investment in those critical technologies like, the best inference chips, the best silicon that can be out there. All of those things will help Cloudflare in order to be able to protect the nation, protect our businesses, and grow earnings.
Matthew, you're a veteran of the tech industry. You've been around for a bit. I mean, we still look great. I mean, of course. But what do you think? I mean, you know everybody too. What do you think about tech warming up to the Trump administration? I mean, they had front row seats, Matthew, right at the inauguration. In front of some potential cabinet members? What do you think about that?
Well, I can't speak for anyone who was there. I wasn't there. But I do think that in a lot of these cases, these are companies that had something that they had to fix. They had problems and potential risk that was out there. And I think they were kind of coming and saying, listen, we're willing to talk to you. We're willing to engage. And at some level, the tech industry is very much like one of the U.S. battleships. It is an incredibly powerful force for the United States around the rest of the world. And so I think for a while, kind of the war on tech has almost been feeling like we're shooting ourselves in the foot as a nation. We're taking one of our most powerful resources and actually hobbling it. I think if we actually start investing in tech, and not just the big companies, but startups, little tech, all of the different organizations that are out there, that's a huge advantage that the U.S. has. It's sort of the Levi's of the 2020s, where we can actually spread sort of the American way of life, the American values through the rest of the world through our tech companies.
Do you feel a need to meet with this administration? You're okay being at an event like this, doing business and doing it from afar. Do you feel the need to get really close to them?
Yeah, we started under the Obama administration. We had a great relationship with them. First Trump administration, we had a great relationship. Biden administration, we had a great relationship. I imagine we will continue to have a great relationship with the Trump administration. And if they ask us to help with cybersecurity problems, we're ready to serve.
All right, always good to see you. Matthew Prince, Cloudflare, co-founder and CEO. Enjoy the rest of Davos. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.